Tip of the tongue. Welcome into B Cut, you guys. You know, we've got a lot of stuff going on.
Oh, we're just going to intro like that?
Welcome into what's... Should we bang it? Yeah, maybe you should.
I was going to say, well, no, I didn't know you were just going to jump right into the thing. Usually we do our little
skedaddle
and
fladdle, but...
hit him with your curry Nurmagomedov Kamatsu ramen.
Okay, here's a tongue twister for you that we just invented, by the way. This is patented by B Cut before we intro, and it is... And I can't even do it yet. Khabib Nurmagomedov made curry with Ramazan Kuramagomedov. Wow.
Kuramagomedov.
That's his name, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Ramazan, because he's fighting this weekend. So let's give him some love here on B Cut.
Khabib Nurmagomedov ate Kamatsu ramen with Ramazan Kuramagomedov.
Try to do that. I don't even know if you did it right.
Khabib Nurmagomedov ate Kamatsu ramen with Ramazan Kuramagomedov.
Yeah, I mean you're looking at his name and he can't even say it.
That's what I'm saying. It's Kuramagomedov.
Khabib Nurmagomedov made curry with Ramazan Kuramagomedov.
Khabib Nurmagomedov
Kamatsu
ramen with Ramazan Karam. Damn,
let me try that one.
I keep saying Kuramagomedov.
Khabib Nurmagomedov made Kamatsu ramen with Ramazan Kuramagomedov.
Khabib Nurmagomedov made Kamatsu ramen with Ramazan Kuramagomedov.
That's tough.
That was close.
Yeah, try to do that, and I don't think you will. But
you can't do that 5 times because one of it sounds like 5 times.
It's true. You know, that's the biggest tongue twister, I think, and I'm happy we invented that tonight.
I'm glad we did. Khabib Nurmagomedov made Kamatsu ramen with Ramazan Kuramagomedov. God damn it.
We've got a lot of news, you know, in the sport. It's a great time to be in the sport. I'm glad me and Blake, you know, started doing this when we did.
Me too, man.
The latest traction on the video we had with the Colby Covington and just the interaction, you know, some of you guys are smart. We enjoy it, so keep doing that. Reach out to us and talk some fights with us. But tonight,
talk that shit in the comment section. I
want
to talk that. I don't want everybody to just be like, yeah, I totally agree with you guys. I want you guys to disagree with us.
And you
Not all the time, you know, because then you're just being an idiot. Then you're just being annoying, you're being a troll. But I like the spiciness. I saw some stuff in the comment section. I actually, this weekend...
You guys are laying out plans.
You guys were laying out plans. I love it. You know, you guys were like, well, you didn't really take into account. Yeah, maybe we did. We just didn't give a damn. But I like where your brains are at. I like that I can see the gears and the cogs are turning.
You know, we got you turning those gears, so love seeing that. News in, like, the boxing realm, I just wanted to throw this at you in the beginning of the show, just for kicks. Frank Mir's fighting again.
Frank Mir in boxing.
In boxing.
Really? Is he doing bare knuckle?
I think so. I'm not sure. It's April 17th, so you know
this.
He's
about to pull a Beck Rollins on us.
Do you know what's the same day of that? April 17th?
I do. It's the funky Ben Askren.
Jake Paul, all of the pools.
Jake Paul's dumb ass up and down YouTube.
So I wonder, since it's a boxing match, would it be on the undercard of that? Or would it be, or is it just BKFC? You know, is BKFC going to try to compete with Jake Paul? Because, I mean, I'm guessing if it's a Saturday, then there's probably UFC as well on that night. So, I mean, what are you going to watch?
Frank Mir to box former multi-division champion Antonio Tarver on Jake Paul versus Ben Askren undercard April 17th.
Very interesting because, like, Frank Mir is a jiu-jitsu guy, or he was a jiu-jitsu specialist when he started, and he's fighting a career boxer. So that is interesting.
So that is actually interesting based on the card. So now we have 2 former, because Ben Askren, I mean,
is that on the card?
He's way more recent. He's on the undercard.
No fucking way.
That's what I just said. So we have 2 former non-boxing, I mean, Frank Mir was a better striker than Ben Askren was, but we have 2 former non-really known for their striking MMA guys on a boxing card against one, a former multi-division champion, Antonio Tarver.
And Tarver's kind of, like, I think he's younger than Frank Mir.
And then we have Ben Askren, who is facing on YouTube extraordinaire, funky amateur boxer
Jake
Paul.
All the pools.
He doesn't even have a nickname because he's
or he calls himself the problem child. That's like that's the
problem child. I was born with a silver spoon up my ass, Paul.
That's a terrible nickname, by the way. Like, I think everyone can agree on that. It's not a good one at all, with your controversy or whatever. But I don't even want to talk about you. But
I don't want to talk about that at all. But Frank Mir on the card doing a little bit of boxing.
That's great. It's on the undercard.
I like that. It is on the undercard. This makes this much more interesting. I mean, like,
wow.
the fight itself was already going to be interesting. But now I want to watch the entire. I want to see like do we have?
I'm watching that fight. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested. When I heard it, I kind of poked my
Frank
my
Mir
stuff.
will also. Hold on, it says he also inked a deal with bare knuckle fighting.
Yeah, I know he did that. I figured he did that, but I don't want to see Frank Mir bare knuckle box. I mean, I've watched that sport or I've watched that promotion. It is brutal. I can see how fighters like watching it, or I could see how fighters like watching it and maybe want to do it. But
Antonio Tarver,
that's
by the
crazy. I mean, it's
fought Roy
brutal.
Jones Jr. 3 times.
Okay.
He knocked out Roy Jones Jr. twice. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a big deal. You knocked out Roy Jones Jr. twice. Now,
It's a big
I don't
deal.
know how old
I'm
Roy
so
was when he
yeah.
did that, but
I'm.
because it says it's. I mean, Roy is what 40.
Gosh,
Tyson
I
and
don't
him
know.
just fought, and Tyson
was
50.
at least 50.
Roy's I think 45, 47.
Yeah, I know,
This
but
guy is only 39 years old.
I'm like
No, I'm sorry. He has 39 pro boxing fights. I don't know how old.
Yeah, I'm young in the fact that I don't really remember the prime of Roy Jones Jr., but the way that people talk about him and his power is super respectful almost every time. So
Yeah.
that guy is, if you knock that
If you're
dude
knocking
out,
Roy Jones, watch
and
out.
you're fighting Frank Mir
So
in your
it
first
says
boxing
Frank Mir
match.
has actually inked a deal with bare knuckle fighting, but they're going to postpone his debut for bare knuckle fighting until after he makes his pro debut on this April 17th card for Triller, whatever that promotion is, for this Ben Askren undercard.
You're a goddamn madman, Frank Mir. I'm just gonna
Good for
say
you,
that.
Frank.
Good for you, Frank. Happy to see you competing again. That's for sure.
Frank says in a tweet, I am a competitor. I have been all my life. I take on all challenges to grow and better myself as a person. I've always wanted to test myself in the boxing ring, so when this opportunity arose, I jumped on it.
That was his
See
tweet,
you April
yeah.
17th, Antonio Tarver.
It's crazy. I mean, he gets that good CBD in him. CBD,
Yeah.
American Shaman.
Spokesman. Hey, for our first plug, unofficial plug, Frank Mir.
Frank Mir.
Spokesman,
Yeah.
actually knows Joshua over here. And by knows, I mean they Instagrammed each other for a little bit.
We've had a
slid
couple.
his-
We've
he slid
dabbled in
Frank's DMs.
convos a couple times. Yeah, you know. So
Spokesperson for CBD American Shaman. Get all your CBD American products at the Shaman.
it's funny because we're a Kansas City podcast. CBD American Shaman's a Kansas City company. Frank Mir is actually a spokesperson for that company, which is kind of weird because I don't think he's from here at all.
Not at all.
But that's always cool. And speaking of Kansas City, there's a lot going on MMA wise here as well. When you think of Kansas City, there's one thing that comes to mind always. I think if you're like a real deep fan, Kansas City, it's James Krause, and that's what's happening in Kansas City. And the big thing of the biggest force pushing the sport is James Krause and his gym and all the UFC fighters that he is really propelling to the next level and just taking their game so much further. And obviously his fight career and even all the Glory Overland Parks, even Zach Cummings deserves some of that credit too. But he's got another fighter this weekend, the third weekend in a row. Last week was Derek Minner, who he coached. This week it's Kevin Kroom, who's going to be fighting in the UFC this weekend. And then you've got FAC, which is a regional promotion. That's going to be happening March 5th. And then March 6th, Megan Anderson is going to be fighting for the UFC title against arguably the woman fighter.
Arguably at this point, I think she just is the greatest women's fighter
Yeah,
ever.
she's the greatest woman fighter ever. That's not arguable, but arguably the greatest fighter ever.
Yeah.
The greatest fighter ever. So
And she's up there right now with her run. She's up there right now with guys like the likes of Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah.
On title defenses. I mean, which is so funny because when you take a look back at the women's division, I remember when Dana White said women will never compete in the UFC. Then all of a sudden,
seems like ages ago.
You get
and they're talking about adding
finally lets girls fight, and then all of a sudden you get some veterans in there. You get girls like
Cyborg or
Chris Cyborg was one of them. I literally had it on the tip of my tongue.
Ronda.
Well, Ronda can't hit the scene by storm. It was super pretty brown hair, long brown hair.
Not Paige.
Not Paige. Well, Paige is also a vet.
That they just added?
Tate. Misha Tate. Misha Tate was one of the big stars at first. You know what I'm saying? Like she kind of was one of the girls that took UFC by storm. Hey, she was a stud. Then all of a sudden you have Ronda hit the scene, and Ronda became probably the biggest star in UFC at the time. I mean, she came in and took the took the scene by storm.
Now they're talking about adding a 105-pound division, so it's gonna
105-pound division
for women.
They need to add, and Megan had an interview with Helwani where she brought this up, where they need to add a 145-pound division. Because there are some bigger girls that would love to fight. They just can't. Like Megan said, I can't fight at 135. I just can't really make the weight very well.
That's what this fight's at, right?
Well,
it's at.
I don't think so.
I think it's at 45.
It's at 45. It's not at 35.
Yeah, because I mean, you look at all of her fights.
But there's not an actual division for that fight.
Okay, well,
for that weight class, because most
that does
of
make
it's 135.
Because I mean, I know Amanda
can easily walk around. She probably walks around at. Let's be honest. She probably walks around at about 145, 150.
They may not have a rankings, but I mean, Felicia Spencer, that fight was definitely at 145.
Yeah,
I'm sure it was.
They just don't have a full-on division for it.
So I mean, that's what we got going on in Kansas City is a potential first world title being brought, first UFC title. I mean, I don't want to misspeak here, but I don't think there's been a UFC champion. And I know Megan's not from Kansas City, but she has been training here for a super, super long time. And so that's what we're looking at here is maybe our first UFC champion.
UFC champion in Kansas City. I would second that. I don't believe we've had a single UFC champion to my knowledge.
I'm sure we've had, maybe some different promotion champions out there, maybe some other promotions, but the UFC is not, it's not an argument. It's the pinnacle of the sport. They don't have the best fighters. They have the most of the best fighters. And yeah, I mean, Megan's got that first crack at the title, but there's a lot of guys in Kansas City that are going to be competing for a world title. I think in maybe not the near future, but definitely the future. Jeff Molina, Grant Dawson, even some regional pros like Isaac Dolgarian. A lot of people are really high on his prospect and stuff like that. Who else is there? There's more. Derek Minner. I mean, never count this dude out.
Minner,
Kevin Kroom
put on a clinic.
Absolute clinic.
Beautiful.
I was really.
Well, you and me. So it's funny. I was actually celebrating my 2nd year anniversary with my girl when we were out to dinner at 801 Chop House in here in Kansas City. Shout out to 801 Chop House. They were awesome. But
801 Chop House.
I was watching the fights. I had them propped up on the table. My girlfriend's cool. She said, "I know what you do. I know your job. You're allowed to watch the fights."
You're allowed.
We had boxing on at the TV at the bar too, so I was getting the double deuce.
Yeah, they had some ESPN boxing last weekend.
And actually, it was good. I saw a couple good fights. Saw 2 guys get knocked out, which was awesome. And then I saw obviously the entire card for UFC. I watched that Derek Minner fight before we got to the bar, and I watched the rest of it, the main card, because I didn't care about a couple of the other fights. But then I watched the Derek Lewis, Curtis Blaydes fight. Actually at the restaurant, but was watching Derek Minner while I was getting ready. I was nervous, man. We interviewed Derek. He gave us a great interview. I was just nervous. I wanted him to win, and he came out and put on an absolute clinic.
Phenomenal.
Controlled. The stat was they fought for 15 whole minutes. He controlled 12 minutes and 34 seconds of that entire fight.
Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, against a jiu-jitsu black belt, dominating him on the ground like that, it just shows you Derek Minner's credibility on the ground and how much submissions he has, but it also shows you like James Krause has kind of evolved the game a little bit. And this is MMA. We can ground and pound, and these transitions on the ground are going to be really advantageous for me, and I'm going to avoid your submissions and stuff like that. This isn't jiu-jitsu. This is MMA, and James Krause is an MMA coach, but that respect to Derek Minner because he absolutely fought a phenomenal fight. 30-26 was one judge, and then one judge had it 29-27, which was either way there was a 10-8 round in there for Derek Minner, which is
definitely a 10-8 round. And if they didn't score it like that,
ridiculous.
They would have been tripping because the way I think what surprised me the most is the way Derek was able to flow against the guy who does jiu-jitsu. And there was a couple times where really the scariest part for me was when he had when Rosa had him in the foothold a couple times.
Lock.
There was a couple leg locks that could have been done, and really Derek, sometimes you see guys panic in that situation. Derek was calm, cool, collected, maneuvered out of it almost right away, or he was able to at least keep his foot in there without it actually being a problem. So the composure that he had in that situation, because I think a leg lock is something that people don't probably get to practice enough in live competition with. So the fact that he was so calm, cool, and collected, and it didn't even seem like it was an issue. It just looked like it could have been an issue, and then he hopped right out of it and controlled the rest of that fight. He flowed so well. Anything that Rosa was trying to do, he was on top of it. Had a great stand-up game for the whole time, and then he took him down. And I mean, it was really start to finish for 15 minutes. It was perfectly executed. I mean,
Dominated.
I don't think you could be I don't think you can be happier
with any decision
with
without a finish.
With the last 2 fights that Minner has been in the UFC. Great 2 debuts right now.
It's one thing to get to the UFC, and that was a process for Derek Minner. And now that he's in the UFC, he's performed, damn near perfect, and that's a big thing for him, because that's obviously gonna get him. If you win in the UFC, you're gonna fight again in the UFC, and that's the thing that he wanted to do in his career was be in the UFC and stick around in the UFC because he knew he was good enough, and obviously he is. So I was really happy for Derek, and but you wanted to talk about the main event, didn't you?
So we were sitting here, and Josh actually laid out a parlay. So I picked.
Fuck.
So if you guys watched the show last week, I ended up choosing Derek Lewis. He chose Curtis Blaydes. My brain wanted to choose Derek Lewis, or my brain wanted to choose Curtis Blaydes. My heart chose Derek Lewis because I've seen Derek Lewis win too many fights just on some sporadic, last-minute crazy power. So, after we exited the show, Josh does a parlay, and I said, "Josh, I'll throw in some dollars, but let's put it on Blaydes to win." I wasn't even backing up my own bet, and that's why I feel bad. I felt bad, man, because I would have picked Blaydes. I picked Derek, and then when we did our official picks, I picked Derek.
Yeah, that's
But
fine.
when we were betting, if money was on the line,
I mean, it would have been so much more of a hit.
I know.
Stupid on my part.
Because for some reason, I was like, man, I see Blaydes just coming in, trying to dominate the ground game, but
it was side.
I wish we would have gone with Derek because you hit every other win besides the Derek Lewis.
I got 3 of them. It was Juicy J, and it was
you did Minner, Juicy J.
Minner, Juicy J. Minner was my only dog, and then someone else on the prelims. I forget.
But then, basically, I'm sitting in the restaurant watching this fight, and I'm like, okay, Derek Lewis is definitely looking slow. And he even said it after the fight. He's like,
he said he felt flat.
He said
he
like, I couldn't wake up, couldn't wake my legs up, couldn't wake my body up. I was just he's like, I wasn't even going to stand there and try to hit the 1-2 with him. I was just waiting on him to try to hit the single so I could hit him with a knee or an uppercut. And he literally, I'm sitting in the restaurant. And it's like a nice, fancy-ass restaurant. For those of you who don't know, 801 Chop House is a nice steak restaurant downtown.
801 Chop House for you.
I'm sitting in the restaurant. My girl goes to the bathroom during the main event. So second round, Blaydes hits the takedown, or goes in for the takedown. Derek was whoop-up. I stand up in the restaurant. I was like, whoa! Yeah, baby, let's go. And then I'm like looking around. I was like, oh, shit, my bad. And honestly, my waiter came over to me, and I thought he was going to tell me to be quiet.
And he was like, hell yeah, Blaydes.
No, he said, who just got knocked out?
He was like,
he didn't even care. He was like, yo, who just got knocked out? Let me see it.
Yeah,
so he wanted to watch my phone with me. So that was actually pretty cool. But yeah, no, Lewis did exactly what we thought he was going to do. Some sort of, I mean, his power is, and the guy, when I say the guy is probably the most down-to-earth, like, humble. I say humble. He really, I mean, he's almost kind of a troll.
Oh, yeah. Lorosenko was trying to get him to get a little sentimental.
Yeah, he's like, I see you getting sentimental. Does this mean a lot to you? He's like, nah, man. I just got something in my eye, man.
Was not having it.
He was like, it's okay. He's like, I know what you guys are going to try to do. All right, don't even do that. What it is what it is. I'm not crying over here, whatever. It's funny the way he just calls them out. And then they said, Derek, he's like, you know what, man? It was whatever. Like, I don't even think I deserve a title fight right now. I really don't. I don't think I deserve a title fight.
That's crazy.
Which is stupid. It's like, Derek, he's like, you guys said I was have the most knockouts in history or Tarver or something. I'm going to have to see some paperwork on that, man. He's like, I just fight because I'm
Remember him and his Ngannou fight? That was like one of the weirdest fights in UFC history. Him and Ngannou, they just like didn't throw a punch. That was weird. Yeah, it's like,
you're like, what? How? What?
It just seems like
I'd love to run that back.
It seems like that would be so much different nowadays.
It was just disappointing the first time.
Yeah,
it was almost so disappointing you can't run it back.
It was weird. So, yeah, Lorosenko was trying to pry it out of him, get emotional, Derek Lewis.
Yeah.
And she's great. She's also, trains out of Kansas City.
I was going to say, she's out of KC.
Yeah,
right there.
so
Right there.
we're all over the sport. And so that's why it's a perfect time for us to be talking about it and doing this stuff. Really, in that Derek Lewis fight, I saw in the first round that Curtis Blaydes he was trying to avoid the power and still try to take him down. Well, you can't do both of those things at the same time.
Yeah.
And so you can't try to take a guy down while you're avoiding the power.
You're stuck in this weird kind of buffer zone where you're like, I'm kind of landing shots, but I'm not putting enough behind it because I want to be able to avoid the power while also trying to get close to you. It was just
it was in 5 rounds, so I was like, okay, Blaydes is just waiting.
Yeah, I mean, he landed a couple good shots on him, but it wasn't anything that shook Derek, really. It was just, you could tell Derek was just he just wasn't there at first.
And then, so in the second round, I look away for literally a second. I look away from the screen for a second, and Curtis Blaydes was flatlined, completely out.
You didn't actually see it?
I didn't actually see it. I mean, you see the replay and stuff, but that always happens to me.
Too busy petting your cat or something.
Yeah. But
okay.
So I look away for a second, and Blaydes was out on his feet, and so
it's weird though. So I keep going back to watch the replay, and it looks like he actually either just glances his chin.
Watch out for that shoulder.
Voice crack there.
Watch out for that shoulder
chin, or it almost looks like he punches him in the sternum,
esophagus,
in
the esophagus.
So I couldn't really tell if he actually just clipped his chin perfectly, or if he didn't hit any of it and just stopped his heart. You know what I mean? Just punched him in the chest.
And man,
but no, out cold, flatlined.
Yeah, respect to both of them.
It wasn't even it was done.
I know.
And he got two really good, just whop, whop. And you know what? When you watch the replay, I don't know who the announcer was. It was a guy announcer afterwards. Not an announcer, it was an interviewer. And he goes, Derek, you hit him pretty clean that first shot. Do you really think you needed the second 2 shots on him? And
yes, it's the sport.
Yes,
I mean, it's not that I say yes, but it's
that announcer. I just wanted to, and Derek said it too. He's like, well, my job is I'm a fighter.
Until the ref
stops you. Stop what I'm doing, because what if he wasn't out?
And yeah, I mean, I love Herb Dean, but there's been a lot of criticism around him lately, and of just his reffing style. A lot of criticism around Herb, and I think he's one of the best in the sport.
I think Herb's one of the best in the sport. Everybody is a human, and everybody's gonna make fucking mistakes.
It's like
they're gonna make mistakes.
Yeah, ever since that Dan Hardy fight, I think people have been watching him a little bit more close. Not Dan Hardy fight, but you remember when Dan Hardy was like, "Stop the fight!"
Yeah,
and that was like that. People have been looking at Herb Dean more closely since that, and there's just been more criticism.
Well, Herb also has been doing it for so long that you'd rather stop the fight later than early.
Stop the fight.
You know what I mean? Well, I mean, shoot, we were just talking about Ben Askren. There was a controversy where Ben Askren versus Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, well, that was Herb Dean.
That was Herb Dean, but
maybe since that fight, it's been like
Herb went on
making mistakes.
Joe Rogan and explained exactly why he stopped that fight, and when he explained it,
sounds great. Yeah.
No, I was like, you know what? Because and me being biased, I wanted Ben to win.
I know. And
I love Robbie Lawler, but when you watch that fight, I remember when I was sitting in the bar over at Lou's on 75th Street.
Thought he was out.
I thought he was out. I said,
everyone did.
He's fucking out. His arm, look at his arm drop.
Droopy ass arm, and then
but what he described was obviously the pressure on the neck. It's a dangerous position. I saw what everybody else saw. He was out. Even the announcers were like he was out. So you're gonna have the errors as a human, but I think Herb does one of the best jobs. And so when you have a question like that, where it's like, was that necessary? If it wasn't necessary, the ref should have stepped in sooner. If your question really isn't for the fighter, your question is for the ref. You know what I mean? But I think everybody did good on all parts. Herb Dean stopped it when he realized, okay, he is officially out. He's not strategically defending himself. He's not intelligently defending himself, and he's officially out. I now can stop it. But Derek Lewis,
Yeah, I mean, he
The-
hit
the
him
reason
while
that-
he's falling. It's not his fault. So
he hit him, he fell, and Derek Lewis. What makes it even worse, and this happens in other sports too.
it's
is
not a bad stoppage.
everybody wants to call shit when you see it in slow mo. You're like, oh, you shouldn't hit him twice. That slow mo took about 15 seconds, but that in real life took about two. And Lewis hopped on his ass. So that I hate that question because as somebody who has interviewed multiple people before, I mean, we did this show, I was an interviewer in college. I was an announcer in college. I've interviewed multiple athletes, and my biggest pet peeve is when I hear these professionals on the internet or on TV going. Just asking stupid fucking questions. It chaps my ass like no
How do you
other,
feel
man.
about when you did it and you do it and you like it?
You just won this fight.
Did you?
How
want
do you
that?
feel? Well, no fucking shit. I bet he feels great, and I know that you work for a station and you probably have some story. But you came up, you sat there all fight, watched it, and said, "How do you feel?"
How do you
I
do
fucking
it?
feel shitty. How about that?
How'd you do it? How'd you feel when you did it? And do you like it?
Do you like it? How'd you think about? What were you thinking when you felt that good about what you did?
Do you want to feel that
Get out of here.
feeling when you do it, or do you want to do it when you feel it how you like it?
Yeah.
And,
So either way, it was stupid. But
Yeah, I mean,
great fight last weekend. Minner killed it. Derek Lewis killed it. Your parlay, unfortunately,
yeah, I mean,
just didn't make the
this is
didn't make
the
mark.
sport that they're in, and they will. I mean, some of these guys prefer to, literally give everything, like their whole entire existence into this fight, into this game, because it's dead serious. There's nothing funny about it, and so I mean, when they go in there, it's life or death, and it's not a game. So to a lot of these guys, and that's
the Derek Lewis quote though afterwards, he was like, "Yeah,
life.
I heard it's pretty cold down in Houston, but it's only because my what did he said something
My
like,
balls are like
my balls-
something about his balls,
my
which
balls
is like
are hot, but I'm not down in Houston. That's why it's cold."
I didn't even watch it. I was like,
some weird shit like that.
I don't want to hear about your balls, Derek Lewis, anymore. One time was enough. But yeah, I mean, even after that, just as a side note, even after that Herb Dean stoppage with Robbie Lawler went up to him and said,
He said, "Herb, you're great."
"You said
Well,
you're a
Robbie's
hell of a ref,
class act.
Herb." And yeah, so but I mean, watch Herb Dean. I'm going to be watching him closely now. I'm going to be watching him.
Well,
But I love Herb.
Yeah,
so.
no, Herb does amazing. Like I said, human error. When you have, I don't even want to get back into it. But yes, human error.
And
It
then-
happens. I'm not even
and
going to
then,
get back into it.
Next week, Dominic Cruz, his beef with Keith
Yeah,
Peterson.
Well, and honestly,
he put in a notice to the athletic commission and said,
did he really?
I don't want this guy to ref my fight.
And usually Keith, I feel like Keith doesn't have many problems. It's usually
Oh my goodness. It was hilarious.
Matsuyama. No,
Ramazan Karamagomedov?
Kamatsu Ramen Namagamedov. No, who's the guy that always had the problems? The Asian guy.
Mario Yamazaki.
Mario, yeah. He was the one who had so much contention against him with multiple controversies, and that's why he don't do it no more.
Yamazaki. And then who else? There's a ton of refs.
I like
Dana's
braided
went
beard.
in on. The long beard guy?
Yeah, I like long beards.
I forget his
What's his
name.
name?
I should know his name.
I should
He's got
know
a
his name, too.
braided beard. But
But yeah, I think
Keith
that
Peterson.
Keith Peterson's usually pretty good. I feel like.
It was funny because he was on
He
Helwani.
also, he's like 5'6", but he looks like he'd whoop your ass.
He'll be in there with the heavyweights, and he'll look. He'll, I don't know. I mean, it looks weird. It looks very unorthodox, I guess.
Tatted
But
up and shit.
it's funny because after how many months, Dominic Cruz is still on that. He went on Helwani this week. He's a commentator, and he said, "I don't want Keith Peterson commentating my fight, or not commentate. I don't want
Reffing
him.
the fight.
I don't want him.
I'm gonna commentate while I fight.
I don't want him reffing my fight. He came backstage to give me the rules of the fight. I interrupted Keith Peterson and I said, "Hey, dude, let me fight." Literally told him that. And he said this was the first ref he had to pull into the conversation because he didn't know what he was saying. He was like, slow down. What are the rules? Tell me the rules. And he had to actually pull Keith Peterson into the conversation. He was saying Keith Peterson was so out of it that he had to
Really?
pull him into this conversation, and that's why he knew from that moment, like,
He don't want him on the.
this guy
It
is
wasn't gonna be good.
this guy. That's why he accused him of like smelling like alcohol, cigarettes, everything. Like,
Really? I mean, if you look at Keith
It
Peterson,
was-
he looks like he's tossed
Because it was a weird stoppage by.
If you look at Keith Peterson, he looks like he's tossed back a couple of brewskis. Probably smoked a couple of stogies, and who knows? Probably did a little bit of the booger sugar. I don't know. You ever seen Keith Peterson? He looks like he got kicked out of a biker gang.
For being too short.
For being too short.
Good ref. I think he's a good ref. I think he's a good ref.
I've actually never seen an issue with him besides the Dominic Cruz fight. But
all right, Blake, let's stop this recording. We'll keep that as a snippet. Do it on there. Tell me when you do it.